A lot of position battles at Penn State as they prepare to play Ohio State in a huge game Saturday night. But there is kind of a battle brewing at place kicker, and there was some news involving the big toe on Tuesday with James Franklin's news conference. What do you have for us?
Yeah, so Joey Julius, the Lower Dauphin product, was backed by James Franklin pretty strongly on Tuesday at his weekly press conference. He said that he's the guy, that there would be a competition this week in practice, and that they'll make a decision. Sort of contradicted himself a little bit. He said he's not a believer in making changes off of one game, and the guy struggles for one game that changes their plan. But he also said they'd compete, and they'll make a decision later this week. Sounds like Joey Julius is the guy. James Franklin said he's, quote, our guy.
Joey Julius missed 2 extra points against Indiana. Also, he's the kickoff specialist. He kicked one out of bounds. They got flagged for that. Late in the game, they went to Tyler Davis, who made a 30-yard field goal and converted his extra point. I think it's probably safe to say that it's Joey's job, but I don't think Penn State would hesitate if the struggles continue to look at Tyler. One thing we actually have to talk about, even though there's not a lot of real news because I think it's mandated by Penn State's fan base, is Saquon Barkley. There's not going to be a lot of news, Greg, I don't think, with him and his availability for Ohio State. He's got a lower right leg, ankle, foot injury, whatever you want to call it. He hasn't played since San Diego State. James Franklin's new spin now on the injury news is it's really not his call.
Right.
You know, it's never really been his call. It's the medical staff, which would be Tim Bream, the head trainer. I'm sure Dr. Lynch, Scott Lynch, is probably in the loop as well.
Yeah.
But he's going to be limited in practice this week. Do you expect to see him?
I would, I would expect to see him. I think James Franklin had a very telling quote on the radio show last Thursday.
Okay.
He said that, you know, if they were going to play him this week and have him be 80% this week and 80% or a little worse next week, it didn't make sense. If they could sit him out and get him to 100% for Ohio State, I think that's what they did.
Yeah, a couple things to get to. James was asked about something that happened during the Indiana game. Mark Allen lost a fumble, and then I think the TV cameras caught a sideline exchange on the Penn State sideline between Mark Allen and Charles Huff, the running backs coach. If you look, it looked like Charles kind of grabbed Mark to get his attention. He yanked him pretty aggressively. Everyone's kind of, it was a little, that's a kind of a, you know, that's not really good for the program when stuff like that goes on. James was asked about it, and he had something to say about whether he talked to Coach Huff.
Yeah, he did talk to Charles Huff about it and said that it's been cleaned up and taken care of. Obviously, you know, I don't think that that's something Charles Huff has done frequently, if at all, ever in his career. But it was obviously something that got caught on camera. It never looks good. It's always a bad look, and they've discussed it and moved on from it per James Franklin.
Yeah, a couple more things just real quick. Wendy Laurent continues to play well, but I thought it was telling. You know, I think people want to know if they're going to see more of him. I think if Angelo Mangiro is healthy, though, it sounds like he's going to be the center, although James is really pleased with Laurent's development.
Yeah, he's been pleased with him back since August. I remember at a summer camp that James had talked about, and we were all a little bit surprised that he was the guy he singled out as the offensive lineman that had improved most, but he has. I think we could see any number of changes. I think you could see him at guard and somebody else move to a tackle spot. I think you could see him at center and Mangiro move to guard. I think any number of combinations are in play for Penn State. They're going to put the best 5 out there.
One last thing, are we any closer, do you think, to seeing Adam Brenneman, the Cedar Cliff grad, at tight end?
Yeah, the first week that we don't hear about Adam Brenneman before there's any news will be the next one. But Adam was the scout team player of the week recently, and he's
suited up against Indiana.
Suited up against Indiana and on the road to recovery. Do we see him this weekend? I don't know. I would be willing, if I had to guess, probably not. But he's probably getting closer than he has been in some time to playing again.
All right, that's it for our takeaways from James Franklin's Tuesday news conference.